Every story has its missed opportunities, and Star Wars is no exception. Sometimes, writers just don't pursue a certain path that might have been better for a story. At other times, they lay the groundwork for one thing but end up following a different path. Today, we'll be talking about a subject that, unfortunately, falls into the latter category. The true Sith, the mysterious antagonistic faction that overshadowed both Knights of the Old Republic games, was ultimately turned into the reconstituted Sith Empire of Star Wars The Old Republic, but both KOTOR and comments from the devs suggest that it was originally supposed to be something much different. In this video, we'll be looking into what could have been, discussing the original nature of the true Sith.
Many things do I see as I gaze here from the heart of Malachor. This place channels such energies. If it matters to you at this last moment, I shall look into the future and tell you of what I see. It is my last gift to you, from one exile to another. The Republic will fall as it always has, a fall that will...
The true Sith were originally intended to be the antagonists of Knights of the Old Republic 3, a game that, unfortunately, never began development. KOTOR 2 featured plenty of hints about the nature of their existence, setting them up as a mysterious empire that waited in the unknown regions, a threat so terrifying that Revan believed it would be necessary to conquer the Republic and reshape the whole galaxy into a war machine to stop it. KOTOR 3 was intended to explore them in detail, but it never materialized, and so the role of revealing the nature of the true Sith fell to Star Wars The Old Republic. And well, The Old Republic kinda ruined it. The true Sith became the reconstituted Sith Empire, yet another Imperial knockoff whose big, threatening feature was an absurdly overpowered Emperor character who just wouldn't die. There are lots of things to love about that game, but the way they treated the Sith isn't one of them. That said, while that's ultimately what we got, that's not what was originally intended. Fans of KOTOR could see that pretty clearly, so they scoured the game and its companion sourcebooks for hints about what the true Sith was supposed to be. Some even contacted the game devs, including Chris Avellone, the head writer. KOTOR 2 itself, if you scour it deeply enough, reveals plenty on its own. It makes clear that the true Sith were the legacy of the original Sith Empire, some sort of remnant that had spent the 1,000 years since the Great Hyperspace War recovering their strength. Some of the devs built on that, mentioning that it was supposed to be based around a cult linked to Naga Sadow, the last Dark Lord of the original Empire. The sourcebooks fleshed out some of their teachings, and Chris Avellone himself provided one crucial bit of information, that their philosophy was somewhat based on that of the Shadows from Babylon 5. With all of this taken into consideration, we're going to take a look at what we believe the true Sith may have been like. These Sith, the true Sith, escaped the Sith Holocaust at the end of the Great Hyperspace War, fleeing into the unknown regions while the Republic destroyed their empire. They abandoned their ancient bastions, worlds like Korriban, Malachor, and Zeost, instead seeking more distant worlds that their enemies knew nothing about. But these were no ordinary Sith. They were part of a feared sect within the Order, a sect whose teachings in Malachor 5's Traya's Academy would go on to inspire Darth Traya. They were not just enemies of the Jedi, they were enemies of the Force and indeed of all life. For 1,000 years, they rebuilt their empire in the dark, creating a new society founded solely on war, upon the destruction of life. And as their strength grew, they began to test that of the Republic, manipulating Mandalore the Ultimate into beginning the Mandalorian Wars. With the galaxy weakened, they planned to strike, unleashing the armies they had been building for centuries upon galactic civilization and forcing their barbaric ways on the weakened Republic. Like it was for the Shadows of Babylon 5, war was a way of life for the true Sith, the way of life. This wasn't in the Mandalorian sense, mind you. The Mandalorians fought wars along cultural lines and according to codes of honor, while the true Sith cared for neither. The true Sith weren't out for honor gained in battle or anything like that. They were out for death, for bloodshed on a tremendous scale and pure unadulterated chaos and violence. Like Kreia, the true Sith hated the will of the Force and its constant striving for balance in the universe. They hated the concept of balance. They believed instead in chaos, in universal warfare that would constantly weed out the weak and ensure the supremacy of the strong. And that is why the true Sith posed such a terrifying threat. Other Sith factions merely wanted to rule the galaxy, to replace the Republic with an empire for their own design. The true Sith wanted no such thing. Instead, they wanted to make the whole galaxy bleed. They weren't just out to wage war on the Republic or on the Jedi, they were out to wage war on every living being in the universe. By the time anyone from the galaxy at large caught on to this, it was almost too late. When Revan and Malak discovered the true Sith after the end of the Mandalorian Wars, they were nearly ready to strike. Given a few more years, they would pounce on the Republic, attacking with a force so unimaginably powerful that the galaxy just wouldn't stand a chance. Their plans were so close to fruition that Revan decided the only viable course of action was to reshape the Republic into a Sith empire of his own. Had the true Sith gone to war with the Republic wouldn't have stood a chance, not even with the full support of the Jedi Order behind them. In fact, the Jedi Order actually made the Republic more vulnerable. There was a reason that, when Revan tried to reshape the galaxy, he chose to shape it into a Sith empire, and not something more palatable to the Jedi. He took it as an absolute certainty that war with the true Sith would cause the Order as a whole to be consumed by the dark side, and so he sought to convert or kill them before that could happen. As Revan saw it, the Jedi were doomed to become Sith, and so he would do everything possible to make sure they became his Sith. Revan was so certain of this because Revan knew war. The Jedi Council, whose members never walked in the dark places of the galaxy and never faced war and death on a scale that Revan did, didn't truly comprehend what war did to the Force. Loss of life on a massive scale left scars in the Force, scars that became reflected in planets that had seen particularly nasty massacres. On worlds like Duxon and Dantooine, war warped local ecosystems as the scars in the Force caused changes in animal behavior, often making creatures more aggressive and vicious. Worlds scarred by war were often considered vaguely depressing by sentients, even when evidence of battle was no longer present. For Force sensitives, however, such scars could be damaging. Being embroiled in warfare could hurt one's connection to the Force or worse. Simply being present on worlds like Malachor 5, worlds that had seen the worst atrocities warfare had to offer, was enough to corrupt Jedi, to turn them to the dark side simply through the sheer weight of the massacres that had happened there. Having been present at Malachor 5, Revan knew this power all too well. Indeed, he used it to turn captured Jedi to his side during the Jedi Civil War. For the Jedi, Malachor 5 was one of the worst atrocities in recent memories, a wound in the Force with tremendous destructive potential. But for the true Sith, Malachor 5 was just another battle. That was what they saw warfare as. Those kinds of atrocities, those abominable massacres which civilized beings would class as war crimes, were their way of life. And because of that, war with the Republic was a win-win scenario for the true Sith. If the Jedi didn't fight, they would steamroll the Republic with their massive army. If the Jedi did fight, the kind of war that the true Sith would bring to the galaxy would turn the Jedi to their side. There was nothing the Jedi could have done to stop them. But Revan, being the absolute mad lad that he was, saw a flaw in their plan that they hadn't and that nobody else likely would have ever seen. The true Sith had a guarantee of victory against the Jedi and the Republic, but not against other Sith. The true Sith couldn't have turned Jedi to the dark side when they've already fallen, and if those fallen Jedi were arrayed against the true Sith with a military empire of their own, ready to fight the kind of war that was coming, the galaxy stood a fighting chance to survive the onslaught. So, that was what we believe the story of the true Sith would have been. As a reminder, this isn't canon in the Legends continuity. The Sith Empire of the Old Republic officially is the same as the true Sith. But what do you think? Do you like this original take on the true Sith, or do you still prefer the version we get? Let us know in the comments section below. And just before you go guys, you know the drill. There's a lot of links in the description below waiting for your clicks, including our Geetsly's gaming network where we have our Gmod and our Roblox, our main Discord server where you can chat with other Star Wars fans, and the Patreon if you want to help support the channel more than you already are by watching this video. And you also get access to a special behind the scenes Discord if you do decide to donate. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.